Can you explain Jerry Jones's decision to fire so many coaches and keep his head coach? And why did Mike McCarthy make the announcement? Help me, Rhonda. I'm a Cowboys diehard and I'm angry. Apologies to the person who wrote that because he or she did not write, and it's sometimes hard to tell, did not write. I'm talking about because of the username, did not write, help me, Rhonda. I put that in. Help me. I'm a Cowboys diehard and I'm angry. What are we talking about? Mike McCarthy made an announcement yesterday, and it was a doozy. Head coach Mike McCarthy announced today that the team has not renewed the contracts for the following coaches. And then it was like an Ace Ventura situation. He pulled out the list and it went, and it was Rob Davis, George Edwards, Leon Lett. Remember Leon Lett, that fumble recovery? Skip Pete, Joe Philbin, Kyle Valero, gone. And then the quote: "We thank these men for their hard work, dedication, and contributions to the Cowboys." Do you know when those things are being written, fingers are being crossed, toes are being crossed, the people put their fingers around their nose like this? They don't mean this. Each of them represented our team and organization at a high professional level with class and commitment to making our team better, but they sucked at it. Oh, no, sorry, that's not in the statement. These were difficult decisions to make because of the great respect I have for each of them as coach and person of character, combined with what we've all been through together. Hold on, I have a little tear in my eye. Mike McCarthy and the other head coaches are very sad. I've told managers that we're firing coaches before, and managers fight for their coaches until you tell the managers, by the way, if you want to keep those coaches so badly, no problem, I'll fire you too. You think that Mike McCarthy came to this conclusion on his own, that he was ready to fire all these coordinators? Well, they're such good people. It's the hardest part of the business, he said. We wish them nothing but the best. Horse hockey, you don't wish them the best. You could care less about what happens to them going forward. Oh, you're going to call Joe Philbin? Hey, Joe, you all right? Everything okay? No, you call Joe Philbin in and say, we're going another direction. We're moving on. Thank you. And Joe Philbin says, why? Our offensive line was so good. Well, because Jerry told me to. Mike McCarthy didn't make the decision right now to fire all of these coaches. None of these head coaches, if you ask every head coach you meet, every single one of them is so loyal to their coordinators and so loyal to their coaches, that's managers in baseball, that they will tell you they never want to fire one of their assistants. Let's just all call them assistants, because then it doesn't matter what sport we're talking about. No head coach or manager wants to fire any of their coaches. They do it when the owner or the GM or president goes up to them and says, that's your choice. We're telling you exactly who you're going to fire. But what it showed us is that Jerry Jones is not going to blame any of this on Mike McCarthy. Any of the problems with the Cowboys. And problems with the Cowboys, let me give you the numbers just so you have them. The Dallas Cowboys in the 2000s, this century, have had 9 years of playoff appearances and 0 Super Bowl appearances. They've won 4 playoff games since the year 2000. 4. Now, before you say that's good or bad, let's compare it to a couple teams. How about just teams in the NFC East? The Giants have been to the playoffs 9 years this century with 3 Super Bowl appearances and 2 rings. That makes them a little better than Dallas's 9 years with no Super Bowls. How about the Eagles? 15 years in the playoffs, 2 Super Bowls, 1 win. But don't worry, the Cowboys have the Redskins. Nope, they're not the Redskins. They have the Commanders. 5 appearances, 0 Super Bowls. That means that Dallas is the second least, the second most, the second biggest. What do you want to go with here, Coca? 4, 8, 69. The Dallas Cowboys are the second least successful franchise in the NFC East. But when you compare them to the other teams around football, the Green Bay Packers with 16 years of appearances, the New England Patriots with 18 years of appearances. You're talking about this century. The Dallas Cowboys have been abject failures. But yet, Mike McCarthy came out and said, hey, Jerry Jones wants me to be Tom Landry. Tom Landry was the coach of the Cowboys for 29 years. Mike McCarthy will not be the coach of the Cowboys for 29 years. It's simply not going to happen. But Mike McCarthy wanted you to know that we're all very disappointed. We understand the fans are disappointed, and we are too. Please have confidence and clear understanding that we're going to do everything we need to get this trophy. As far as my relationship with Jerry, I'm using his words. We're in an excellent spot. I like that. Do you ever tell your girlfriend that, or your boyfriend or your spouse? How we doing? How are things? We're in an excellent spot. When you're using the word excellent spot, you ought to be talking about one thing only, and not the relationship that you're having when it's an owner and a GM versus a coach. So what's my answer to your question? I can't explain why Jerry Jones isn't firing Mike McCarthy. Does he have pictures? Does he actually believe that Mike McCarthy is the head coach who's going to help the Cowboys win? Or here's the real explanation. Jerry Jones knows. I wanted that to be so much smoother, Coca. 1, 2, 6, 9. What Jerry Jones realizes is that he's never going to have a successful head coach. And the reason he's never going to have a successful head coach is because he is the worst GM in all of football. Not the worst owner, because they all meddle, but he's the worst GM. Disappointed, looking for trophies. The way teams decide who's going to make announcements, just to finish the second part of your question, is that owners only make good announcements and coaches and GMs and presidents make bad announcements. Just that's a rule of thumb. You will very rarely see owners announce the firing, but you will always see owners announce the hiring. That's how they do it because they're owners. Jerry Jones, as a GM, does not want to be associated with the firing of coaches because at some point you got to get fired yourself if you're the GM, unless, of course, you're the owner. And you may think I'm on Jerry Jones too much when I tell you that I actually have great respect for him for naming himself the GM, but I have great respect only if he fires himself. He can still be the owner of the most valuable franchise in the world, but doesn't he feel like it's time to get a little more successful? Doesn't he remember what it was like when he wasn't making all the decisions?